Did you know that every year you have to reapply for small business status? A lot of our clients apply and they don't realize they have to reapply every single year. They did a pre-sub last year. This year they're doing a 510K and they don't have the small business status for this year. Also, you don't automatically qualify. You have to fill out an application because the FDA needs to confirm what your company actually has for revenue. That's all it is a confirmation of your revenue. But there are a couple of forms you have to fill out. So I'm going to walk you through the process step by step. But you can apply for fiscal year 2026 right now using data from 2024, which you already filed your taxes on. So let me share it with you. Here's our small business qualification page that we have on our website. This is zoomed in, of course, showing you just the image, but I'm going to show you step by step through the 7 steps to get your small business qualification. So step 1, how much do you save? It's $20,000, almost $20,000. $19,500 is what you're saving from 2026 fiscal year standard fees for the FDA 510K versus the small business fee. But step 1 is you have to apply and you got to figure out whether you qualify. So you have to make less than $100 million US dollars. That's requirement number 1. Number 2 requirement. Why do you need to apply? Because the FDA needs to confirm that you actually make less than 100 million. They can't just take your word for it. They need a tax return. And of course, your company is going to grow over time as you make more sales. So that number is going to change. It could also go down, but either way, it could go up or down. It's going to change. You need to substantiate this is how much we make. You have to apply every year for that reason. So the fiscal year is October 1st through September 30th. If you've filed your taxes for fiscal year 2025, then you would have to use those tax data. But most of the companies have a calendar year or they have a fiscal year that they've already filed for. And so they're using 2024 data for filing in 2025 for fiscal year 2026, which begins in October. Step 1, you have to file your taxes. Step 2, you have to file your taxes. So if you just started your business, you don't have a tax return. Your accountant says you don't have to file yet, but you want to save $19,500 on your 510K. So what do? Well, you can declare a different tax year. That's one thing you can discuss with your accountant. Not every company has to have a calendar year. Another thing that you can do is you can claim a loss. So even if you are just doing R&D and you don't have any revenues yet, you can still claim a loss. Normally, your accountant will say you don't have to do that because you don't need to spend the money to file your taxes. And you don't want to file your taxes late and get a penalty, even though it's a $0 tax return. But this is a $19,500 savings. So even a penalty for filing late with a loss for the company could still be advantageous because it's a $19,500 savings on the submission fee, but it's a much lower cost in most cases for the late filing fee. Step 3, you have to obtain an organization ID number. Every company gets an organization ID number assigned by the FDA. So how do you find that? We actually have a video for that. So if you go to our page, and there's a link in the video description below, we give you a link to the page, and on that page is the video, so you can just play it there, or you can click through and obtain the link yourself, or search on our channel for organization ID number. But it walks you through step by step on how to get your small business's organization ID number and set up that payment account, which you need. You need an EIN or a DUNS number. So companies that are US companies, they'll have an employer identification number. Companies that are outside the US, they'll have a DUNS number. A lot of our clients are like, oh, we don't have a DUNS number. I'm like, are you sure? And like, what do you mean? A lot of companies already have a DUNS number and they don't realize it. So I go in to the DFUF website, I start creating an account for them. I say, you're a new organization, and I type in their company name, their country, their city, and voila, 9 times out of 10, I find they already have a DUNS number assigned to them. So it's very easy, and we're already halfway through the process of creating the DFUF account. So they need a DFUF account in order to get that organization ID. So once we have that DUNS number, we can finish creating the account. The hardest part of creating the account is selecting a 15-digit password. Yes, the password is the hardest part. So we log in, we get their DUNS number, we create their account, we create the password, and then we look on the profile. There's a little profile button. We look up that, and that gives us the organization ID number. And that's all explained in the video that I provided on our webpage. Step 4 of the process, fill out the FDA form. You have 2 different versions of the form. There's a US form and there's a international form. The US form is form 3602. The international form is 3602A. The big difference between these 2 forms is on page 2. Page 2 is what I'm showing right now for 3602A. This is the international version. If you have the 3602 form, it has a place for you to list all the affiliate companies instead of having this information. So a lot of companies will, if they're foreign firms, they'll fill this out, but they may have a subsidiary. So you have to attach in your submission both the filing for your company, but any subsidiaries, any parent companies. So you may have to fill this out multiple times if you're associated with other companies. If you're not associated with other companies, you just have to fill it out for your company. And common questions I get, like, who is the National Tax Authority? Look it up. Well, what dollar amount do I use? So if you look on the right-hand side, it has currency unit and amount reported. It depends on what your local currency is. And people are like, well, I put in this number. The FDA wants to know what date that is. They want you to use the December 31st of the year that the tax return is for. So whatever that tax return number is, and this is assuming your tax year ends December 31st, whatever it was on the last day of that tax year, you're going to record what that currency exchange rate is, and that's going to go in the form, and you're going to indicate what your local currency is and the amount that you reported in that local currency, and then you're going to do the calculation to convert it into US dollars. But the total amount has to be less than 30 million in order for you to get small business status, and most of our clients fall into that category. There's only, I think, 2 clients this year that are below that threshold, and they were both acquired recently. Step 5 of the process, you need to contact your national tax authority. So as I said, who are they? Look them up. Google is your friend. Look it up. If you're, let's say, in Canada, Canadian National Tax Authority. If you're in France, French National Tax Authority. They'll actually give you a website. Go look it up. If you're looking for the exchange rate, there's actually, I was able to get a PDF exchange rate for the specific date that I was looking for, and it gave me for all the different countries, that even currencies that I had no interest in at all, in addition to the major currencies that I was interested in. So it's easy to find. Just look it up on Google. Next, what if the National Tax Authority won't sign the form? So if we go back a slide here, on the right-hand side, you can see there's a place for them to sign, date, stamp, and list their information. Sometimes they will not fill that in because it's not in their language. Can you blame them? I'm not going to sign a document and stamp it as an authority of the National Tax Authority if I can't even read the document. So they may only sign it if they are having it in their language. You could translate it into their language and then have them sign, date, and stamp that and attach the translation. That would be a way of doing it. You could write a justification or an explanation for why they won't sign it and get some other kind of corroboration of your tax return, such as something from your accountant. But you need to provide some proof that this number is legitimate if you can't get it from your national tax authority. And I've had a couple of clients from Japan and Mexico where they've had that issue. So make sure, if just because your national tax authority says we can't sign this form, don't quit there. It's worth the $19,500 to figure this out. Now, one of the things that we used to have in this presentation was that you need originals. They have to be signed originals and sent by FedEx. That's no longer true. The FDA has gone 100% digital for this process, and you have to upload a PDF. So that's how you're going to do it from now on. No more originals are required. Step 6, you need to sign up for the customer collaboration portal, and you need to upload your information. So the customer collaboration portal, it takes 5 minutes to set this up. I've given somebody instructions while driving the car, talking to them on my hands-free voice, of course, but just walking them through. This is all you have to do. I didn't even need to see their screen. I could walk them through it. But you type into the Google browser, FDA customer collaboration portal, and you can find it that way. But I've given you a hyperlink on the screen here for the customer collaboration portal to sign up for it. And then there's a website that we have where we give you a link as well. So you can either sign in, register, create your own account, or you can go to our website and click through the link. Once you've created your CCP account, then on the left-hand side, there are going to be 3 icons. The first one is for home, the second one is for adding a submission, and the third one is for creating a request. Specifically, it's a small business determination request. So that's what you're going to be clicking on for your small business. You click on that third icon. It looks like a little piece of paper. And the first thing that it asks you for is your qualifications. And so I've shown on the screen here the basic qualifications, the dollar amount, where you're located, and your organization ID number. It walks you through the whole process. So right now, if I logged into that today, it wouldn't show me just 2025. It would also show me fiscal year 2026. If you are filing something before September 30th, well, then you would be using fiscal year 2025, and you need an expedited determination. So you would click on the 2025 and submit that. If you're submitting it for 2026, you would click on the 2026 button instead, and you would do the same thing, but you're not going to get your small business designation for 2026 for 60 days. So that's going to come in October. So, but they do expedite the 2025s if you're in this period of time where you're less than 60 days away from the deadline of the end of fiscal year. It doesn't take them that long to review these, and I've seen them process it in just a couple of days in urgent cases. But if you haven't filed yet for 2025 and you're going to submit by September 30th, then you probably ought to apply for both 2025 and 2026 so you don't have to redo this again later. You don't want to always be doing this on an urgent basis. Do it once now urgently and once now for next year in case you need it. And every year put on your calendar, I'm going to apply again on August 1st because that's the earliest you can apply. Next, step 7, you got to wait. This is the waiting step. This is where we wait 60 days. So how do you know you received it? On the CC portal, on the CCP portal, the customer collaboration portal, it's going to give you a progress bar. It's going to give you your small business request number. It's going to tell you what the status of it is. It's going to give you a contact potentially there. It will tell you when it's on hold. So check out your CCP site and see what the status is. Don't be frustrated by it not showing a lot of progress. During the middle of the year, we see there isn't much progress in the progress bar until the 60th day. You should not be seeing that there's much progress in there because it's a very short process. But at least you can see whether it's being reviewed. What are you going to get at the end of the process? You're going to get a form letter. It's going to be emailed to you. It's going to have your small business request number that you already have from the CCP portal in the letter. They are now using that as your small business designation number. But if you just type in that small business request number early, before you've been granted that status, it's not going to work. It's only after they've given you the green light, yes, you have small business status, that you'll actually be able to type that number in and have it work. When I first started, I was having difficulties just typing in the number. I thought we needed the SBD number. Both were working for a while. Now they've got it fixed, so you type in the SBR and the numbers, and you include the dashes, and everything works. So when will you get it? They say 60 days. The process doesn't take 60 days, but that is how long they're taking to process it. They're processing it just in time, not early. So you will have to wait 60 days unless you're in this urgent period at the very end of the fiscal year. So this shows you how much you are saving. So when you're doing these small business applications, this is why you're doing it. It's to save all this money. The left-hand column, the yellow, shows you what the standard fees are. The right-hand column shows you the small business fee. And we used to be saying all along, sorry, everybody, if you are trying to get a small business discount because you want to save money on your registration, it's a waste of your time because there is no small business discount for the establishment. However, that is not true if you are looking at the future here. As of 2026, fiscal year 2026, the FDA changed their policy. So now they offer a waiver to small firms that are in tough financial situations. Not everybody, just the ones that are in these tough situations. And they have guidelines. They have a subjective process for deciding whether you meet the requirements or not, but they do list requirements. So number one, you have to be qualified as a small business. So you got to fill out all those forms first before you can do anything. The second requirement is you have to be a company that was registered as a registered with the FDA last year. So if you weren't registered last year, don't even bother. You can register this year, but first-time registrants are not eligible for the waiver. Only second, third, fourth, fifth year. So if you've already registered, then that's one of the other requirements. The third requirement on the list is your company has to have revenues of less than $1 million, not 30 million, of 1 million. And the final criteria is you have to show that paying the $11,000 would be an extreme hardship for your company, such as we're going through bankruptcy. This is the part that's a little disappointing because really 1 million in revenues isn't enough of a hardship that we're going to spend over probably $1 million on our testing. But no, that's not enough. We have to also be going through bankruptcy to convince you. Now, they don't say that's the only hardship that they'll listen to, but you're going to have to give a somewhat compelling case that you are in financial hardships and it's not just your $1 million of revenues. It's maybe that you have a loss in your company and you're stacking up some tax credits and you're raising funds and you haven't raised those funds yet. If people are taking furloughs or people are not getting paid their full salaries, that might be a good indicator that you're in financial hardships. But the example they gave is bankruptcy. So try it out if you are in this category, but you got to meet the first three criteria. You got to apply, you have to have paid last year, and you have to be making less than 1 million in revenues. So that takes us to the end of our presentation. I hope that was helpful to you. If you are a small business, that's what we specialize in. Medical device, small business companies, we help them from all over the world. We will actually fill out the forms for you if you give us your tax information. We'll create the accounts for you. We act as U.S. agents, but this process, I understand it's complicated and it's not the easiest instructions on the FDA website. We can help you with it, but don't just let your company pay the extra $19,500 just because you can't figure out the paperwork or didn't do it in time. We tell all our clients, do this right at the beginning of the process and do it every year on August 1st. It's a little bit after August 1st, so do it now. See you later, and I hope this was helpful. Share it with your friends that are small businesses. Bye-bye.